Hello, Monetization Nation. There are 3.5 billion social media users, which is about 45% of the world's population, according to Oberlo. That number is only growing. Social media is one of the best ways to reach our customers. In today's episode, Warren Whitlock and I discuss 3 of his secrets to using social media effectively. Warren Whitlock is a digital business development strategist. In 2008, he wrote the first book on Twitter and mobile marketing called Twitter Revolution: How Social Media and Mobile Marketing is Changing the Way We Do Business and Marketing Online. He was also named one of Forbes' top 10 social media power influencers. Warren helps businesses transform into a new way of doing business. His breakthrough strategies to integrate mobile marketing, public relations, and lead generation with conversions to return on investment for lifetime value have helped hundreds of businesses achieve rapid and continuing results in the marketing process. Tectonic shifts are constantly transforming the earth and business, causing destruction and huge growth opportunities. I'm Nathan William, the host of Monetization Nation, where we learn how to leverage business tectonic shifts to transform monetization. Thank you so much for joining us today, Warren, on the show.
Great to be here.
So we like to start off by talking a little bit about passion. Can you tell us something that you are highly passionate about?
One of the things I'm very passionate about is giving. If you don't give value for what you're doing, first of all, there's the moral and spiritual part of it that yes, you should be always in service to others, but putting that aside and just plain business and plain well-being of your own, personal on a day-to-day basis, the more you give, the more you get. And so much of business is taught in dog eat dog world. We've got to go kill the competition, et cetera, et cetera. I just learned that you don't have to do it that way. And it's a lot better when you've got people who are anxious to hear from you because of what value they see you have and what you've already given them. And reciprocity works. The more you give, the more you get.
Yeah, definitely. It's human nature that when people do things for us, we naturally want to go do something back for them.
And the best is Robert Cialdini wrote a book called Influence, the Science of Persuasion. And Cialdini is CIALDINI. And greatest book of it's like the Bible for persuading people. It's got studies in it. I spent years collecting studies as a college professor, and he did it as thinking that it would be like at least when I interviewed him, this is how he explained it. He thought he would be hearing at least as much from people trying to battle consumer protection against persuasion as so what to do to keep you from getting taken by the car dealer, that sort of thing. And he was amazed that most of the people who were interested were the practitioners. I said, yeah, we do. We treat this as you've got to learn this. If you're going to try to talk anybody into anything, you've got to study the science of persuasion. And his very first example is reciprocity. 2 people sitting in a the college student who we're going to pay you a few bucks to come and take a survey. And he said that to put the people in that situation, the control group they did it, and after a certain amount, the shill would then say to the person that was paid to talk the other person into something, after talking for 10, 15 minutes, would say, you want to buy some raffle tickets. And I'm getting this contest. If you just buy a few, you could win a car, and on top of that, I'm going to get to win the prize as the best salesman, and talk them into it. They did that, and then the same pitch, but 5 minutes before doing it, they said, hey, I'm going to go down the hall and get a soda. Do you want one? And everybody said yes to that. And so the ROI on the can of soda was 10x the amount they spent on soda. And it was overall double the number of raffle tickets sold by doing that compared to the control group. And so that's a great thing. That shows reciprocity. And we normally think of that as, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. Well, that's just not how that reciprocity works. Because imagine the same thing. We're sitting there in the same situation, and I say to you, hey, I got some raffle tickets I want to show you. But first, let me go get a soda. You want one? Most people are going to say no at that point because they don't want the forced reciprocity. They're not looking for that.
Yeah.
Reciprocity works, but it's more when you give without expectation of return.
Yeah.
And it's you got to let go of the control of I better put a coupon code he's got to use, or we'll run a sale and it's only available if I, all that kind of stuff. All those tactics work; they help. They're all part of the persuasion process. But the very basic thing is, do I feel this person is giving me more value than whatever I'm going to pay him? And I like to think every business deal I go in with thinking it's a waste of my time if I haven't shown where we should get a 10x return on what my client's investment is.
Yeah.
And like why bother if it's not 10x? And sometimes it's 100x. And if I go in and spend a few hours with somebody making $100,000 a week, I might be able to do a lot more than I get somebody who says, I'm just starting up and I'd like to be able to sell my widget. I'd like people to come to my blog. Can you help me? I only have $5 to spend. Well, there's very little I can do there, just because of the bandwidth and the cost of doing stuff. So I do have to hone in a little bit of I'm not going to give you a free hours advice just because you're an anxious kid looking to learn. On the other hand, I will give an hour for your podcast because I think then thousands of people could benefit.
Yeah.
And by the way, you'll put a link back to my website, and my website stays popular. So that's how it works. And of course, I'll help you because I'll tell 1 million people to follow me about this interview because it's going so well.
Well, those are great points. Reciprocity and value are so important. We give value first, just in summary, we give value first without expecting anything in return. And then it's human nature that people are going to be more open to want to give back to us.
Right. That's why a free estimate always is good. It's something to do, but you've got to be careful with that.
Definitely. All right, let's get into a little bit of storytelling here. Can you tell me about the biggest failure or mistake you've made in your career and what you learned from it?
There's been a lot of mistakes. I don't know about one that's the biggest, but the one I was just talking about, the fact that when I had a small business, we were selling used laser printers, and what it was doesn't really matter. I was advertising and getting a good return on my investment. I was on the internet when a lot of people weren't, and people were calling. Every day the phone would ring. We'd package up our product and ship it across the country. Use laser printers that cost 50 pounds. So it was costing a significant amount of money to send it. And I tried what I'd learned from my advertising days was, try offering a money back guarantee, because a lot of people are going to say, I'm going to buy because I can just ship it back in a week. But when they get it and it's okay, they're like, well, this may not be everything I want, but I'm not going to just return it. And so we offered to pay to have it shipped back. When we did that, we quadrupled our sales. And so I'm sitting there doing really well. And I got into the testing. I would spend $1 and make back $6. And in profit, it was probably much 3 or 4. So we'd sell something for every $100 in sales. We had hard cost of buying the equipment at 20 to 25%, and then we had some labor in that. And of course, we had to run an office and do the paperwork and all that kind of thing. So, but if I could spend, if 16% purchase price went to advertising, much higher than anybody would teach you what a CPA would say what an advertising percentage should be when they're doing your book. Actually, a good CPA will take a look and say, how much money are you making off of it? Oh, if you're doubling your money with every dollar you spend, you should spend more. But a lot of basic bookkeeping courses will tell you, don't spend more than 5% on advertising. And the other thing was, when you're running a small business, if you spend that money, that's money that month that you're not taking home. It may build the market and get new leads and grow your business, but you've still got to think about what's left over. And so part of that mistake was not paying attention to enough to give myself a salary, and not consider a big day in sales as more money I could take, or a low day in sales was work my butt off and get more tomorrow. And when I got more sophisticated and had a staff and a building and bills to pay, taxes, all those things, that I more or less ignored because it was all about go make some more money and we can cure all the other problems. And then I reached a point where we were doing it right, and I didn't go out and find a way to spend 10 times as much money. I spent more money than I had all the time. I financed the business on high interest credit cards over and over again. Lots of little mistakes leading up to this, but so I had no fear of going and spending another, say, $10,000 when I had been spending $10,000 a month. Give it a try. I got comfortable. This is working. And sooner or later, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because it was an advertising tactic. The strategy was sound, but the tactic didn't change. I didn't update much. We ran one test where the last one we did was a test where we had my son was working for me. He'd become an expert at the large format laser printers. And so we'd sell them to people doing T-shirts because they needed a 11 by 17 piece of paper coming out. It was actually vellum that you use in that process, the kind of paper. And he knew about as much about it as somebody writing a silkscreen business. But he had never done it. We just learned by telling people what we'd learned in the manufacturing selling. They were worried about whether the used printer would work in such a way, and we knew all about that. So we'd tell them. And so we rewrote the sales page with his image at the top, little thumbnail image, because this was the early aughts when we got to doing this. Little thumbnail image, and at one point we had an audio. You could push the button and it would play. Hi, I'm Zach. I'm the graphics arts, something like that. Technology didn't allow what we would do today. Today it'd be a full screen video. Anyway, and it was just spectacular. And so I okayed spending 10 times as much money on it. And the next day, Google made a change and our advertising results fell flat. We didn't lose money, but we didn't make the money we'd made the first couple of days in the test. And by then I'd moved on to other projects and my son was running it. And we just kind of went downhill from there because he found that it was easier to do some things in a different way and just fulfill the order. And the growth stopped. And once the growth stopped, the business was doomed. And it took a while, pulled a lot of money out of it while it was dying, but sooner or later it wasn't there. So that'd be my biggest mistake. And that also led to when I did get to the point that I had a lot of money, going ahead and being comfortable that, I moved to Las Vegas, I can do whatever. Oops, Las Vegas has real estate. And guess what happened about 12, 13 years ago? That market went all over the place bad. Credit I couldn't pay and things I was tangled up in.
Houses for 10% what they paid for them.
Well, yeah, it's exactly what mine went to the bank for because just everything crashed. I wouldn't do that again. I wouldn't. Some of the decisions I made about where to borrow money and what to do while I was going through that, because I'd always just been able to work my way out of everything. And when the crash came, and now today, you talk to somebody that's been in Vegas for 15 years since that happened, they're going to tell you a story like that. Now, there's plenty of people where they had their little house and just kept making their payments, worked at their fixed income job, did okay. But if you go to something like a networking mixer, you're going to find people have been through all that. And it all came from me not tending to this idea of you do something when it works, make sure you keep doing more of that and stop doing the things that hurt you. We never took on an investor. It was always just me by the seat of my pants. I now know from being the advisor that, helping startups, I now know that certainly when they're running something by the seat of their pants, they've got a big hurdle they've got to go over. It's like a chasm. There's a marketing chasm where you start doing well and then you expand and then the market dips for a while. Just all new technology does that. That's marketing chasm. There's another kind of chasm that happens. In fact, one guy I interviewed, and he says, no matter what you're doing, you're going to reach that point where you're in the chasm and you think you're just going to die. And many businesses just go away at that point. And then in a tech business, you get the ROI comes after you survive that and then get together what is good technology that'll sell. Mistake people in technology make is that my tech is so good, I don't have to market it. Well, that's why you see so many people running a 75% off sale on their software. One day only, 75% off. Well, How do you make money doing that? You drop your price by 25%. That means usually you've dropped your profit margin by 50 to 100%. You're getting the cash flow you need, and you can call that a success, a win for the day, because you live to fight the next battle. But if you do that all the time, you're like the furniture store we used to drive by for years that changed the paint and the signs all the time. It was always a furniture store, but half the time was going out of business and half the time was having a grand opening. And let's just assume that they legitimately took, partners changed, somebody left, somebody gained, they sold the business, whatever. Maybe that business opened and closed. I don't know. It was different businesses. So, if legally it was okay, it still was a mess for what it was being advertised to the world, because it's always going out of business. And so there's a certain market for that. There's a certain segment of people that are looking for the bargain, and you sell to them. You have you're living on ads on eBay and Craigslist, and you can do that. You can do okay. At the same time, when you actually talk to people who have money, and that's anybody over about 50K income a year, where they have enough money, but the price does not affect them as much as other things. Price drops to maybe number 7 or 8 when looking for something. I'm a bargain hunter. You ask me what's important, I'm probably going to say price in there if I'm personally buying, but I'm in the minority. I've been a retailer for a long time, learned everything's available wholesale if you make a few calls. And, we're willing to drive an hour to pick it up. You can find a place where the local store buys it. And maybe we ought to add that to what I sell. But if you really go out and look at, hey, how do I get wealthy? Where can I spend some money? How do I have a great life? Well, I have a great life right now in that it doesn't matter whether there's a pandemic or whatever. Anything I really want, I look it up on Amazon and click a button and it's here tomorrow or in a few days. My groceries are delivered. Life is pretty good, right? And, I've got a little bit leftover money in the bank. And so I'm doing okay. I don't need to look and say, is there a way I could get this cheaper? I still do, but it's still an influence for me. But I've learned after that big crash that I got to a point where it's not about how I can assemble, what can I do to make next month's rent? It's where can I give enough value that people are going to want to pay me, and then set up the money machine.
All right. So you've written a book about Twitter. If you had to name your top 3 social media secrets, what would they be? And maybe you could share a quick story about each of those 3 secrets, about somebody that applied.
So the biggest tip I can give is to make sure to be a recognized expert in your field. Is to pick a niche and be expert in that, and then just be yourself. And social media is mostly social. So all we've been talking about, media and ROI and all that, that's still in there. If you really want to get ahead fast, you buy advertising. You learn to do it that way. Then it's hands off. You can hire somebody to do it, and you get good at placing ads and make sure you have the right funnel in place. You just turn it on. So when you get to a point that you've got something that works, now it's a matter of, do you want to be a recognized thought leader? Do you want to be a guy that answers all the questions on a topic? How do you want to do this? Well, usually a thought leader is the best leverage, but it takes some personal time to do it. So it's not, can I create the right infographic or video, or come subscribe to my blog offer, or offering your software for 80% off, like they do. Instead of doing that, you become a thought leader where people are seeking you out. So, I get invitations to speak on a podcast because I'm a recognized thought leader. And so when I went for the social media thing, I'm a social media expert. I rank. I don't like being called a social media expert, but I live with it because that's what I rank for. And doing the same in the blockchain space, blockchain marketing expert or something like that. I probably will start ranking pretty high, but I don't worry about that near as much now. What I do when I'm on social media is, where are those friends, the people I've helped before who've helped me? What can I do to show some love? And I may like all their posts, but like all the posts, follow them on the right accounts. That helps. I have a very large following, So if you tweet something to me and I answer, that actually helps your ranking without, it doesn't matter what the topic is. It's just the fact that you engage with the guy with the blue check mark and, big audience on Twitter. And I do that all the time. If people will write to me, then I talk to them. And if they say, how about a shout out? The answer will probably be, I don't like to shout. Can we just have a conversation? And that annoys some people who are just thinking that, their life's going to change if they can get me to mention them in a tweet. Well, no, it's going to be a factor. It's going to help. But go ahead and ask me something. If you enjoyed this show, please tweet me. You put my name in any tweet and it'll go, I'll respond and it'll go out to all of our, it actually gets forced to all of our mutual followers. But if I retweet it, then it'll go to all of my followers, depending on what it is and whether it's interesting. But I'm not going to tweet something just because I want to do somebody a favor. I go and look at what they have. So let's say you're an influencer. I come to your profile. I scroll down, and in the first 20 tweets, I see something that's interesting, and I either retweet it or if I don't really want to share it, then I like it. And I might reply to something, and it might be some, dumb comment because, that's my personality. So I'm the same person all the time. And boy, that's it. Be authentic. That's probably the number 3. So I'm giving you at least 3 things on this. So when you're authentic, when you're yourself, now I can go and look and I can say, oh man, this guy with the comment said something brilliant. Let me respond to that. I just add to the conversation wherever I can. And I expect reciprocity.
Thank you so much, Warren, for sharing your stories and knowledge with us today. Here are some of my key takeaways from this episode. Number 1, the more we give, the more we get. But we should give without the expectation of return. Number 2, when something works, we should keep doing that, scale that, and do more of that, and stop doing the things that hurt us. Number 3, marketing strategies that offer big deals and discounts can help with our short-term cash flow needs, but they will likely not work and will hurt us in the long term. Number 4, to grow our social followings, we must be thought leaders, be authentic, and engage with our following. If you enjoyed this interview and want to learn more about Warren or connect with him, you can find him on LinkedIn or visit his website at warrenwhitlock.com. And we'll include links to both of those in the blog post of this episode. Did you like today's episode? Then please follow these channels to receive free digital monetization content. Number 1, you can get a free monetization assessment of your business, or subscribe to the free monetization e-magazine at monetizationnation.com. Number 2, you can subscribe to the Monetization Nation podcast or YouTube channel. And number 3, please follow Monetization Nation on Instagram and Twitter. How have you seen someone find success through becoming a thought leader on social media? Please join our private Monetization Nation Facebook group and share your insights with other digital monetizers. Thanks for joining me for this episode. I hope you have a fabulous day. Do you want to become a better digital monetizer? To receive great monetization stories and secrets, please go to monetizationnation.com and join free. And if you liked today's episode, please subscribe to the show and share it.